to the I-24 News Desk. It's Passover Day today and day 200 of the war here in Israel. We begin in the Gaza Strip, where IDF spokesperson in Arabic is urging residents of Beit Lahia in the northern part of the Strip to evacuate after armed confrontations between Israeli soldiers and Hamas terrorists there, as American and Israeli officials reportedly suggest there are still thousands of them in this area, Hamas terrorists that is. Further down in the central part of the Strip, an operation at the corridor near Gaza City still underway, and down south, while the dilemma surrounding a campaign in Rafah is still on the table, new satellite images appear to show a new compound of tents being built near Khan Yunis, potentially a home to 1 million Gazans to be evacuated should the Rafah operation gets a green light. On the Israeli side of the border, 4 rounds of red siren alerts, sending Israeli residents who are able to go back to their shattered homes back into shelters on a holiday. Yet again.
Low-intensity phase of its campaign in Gaza, so very different than, say, the first 4 or 5 months of the war after the October 7th massacre by Hamas. And this is what you're going to be seeing. By the way, these raids, and it's a raid into the northern Gaza Strip, Beit Lahia, Beit Hanun, or in the central camps, like we've seen in past 2 weeks, it's not out of the ordinary for the past 2 months. We had that raid into the Shifa hospital in Gaza City last month. And that was the second battle for the Shifa hospital. And it's all in combination with a potential larger operation into Rafah in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. It's not a question of if, to the best of my understanding, it's a question only of when, likely in the coming weeks. But
when we're talking about the northerly, but now we want to jump to the northern front because the low threshold war there continues as well. Sirens in the north today, all the way down to the Krayot, right outside of the northern city of Haifa, but not in the immediate proximity of the border with Lebanon. The IDF said it had downed 3 targets over the Sea of Acre and Nahariya in that area. So we are crossing now live to I-24 News correspondent Zach Anders. Zach, yet another active day on the northern front. What can you tell us?
Well, since we last spoke an hour ago, nothing new. We're still looking at 6 attacks that Hezbollah has purportedly claimed responsibility for. Now, one of those attacks being what appears to be a drone that came down the coast. This is one of the deepest launches or the farthest distance an aerial target from Hezbollah has reached inside Israeli territory before it was shot down. There have been others, and I would have to get out, I think, a tape measure at this point to be able to tell the difference between the last launch that was in this area that was intercepted. It was very close. Without seeing the previous video of the drone coming in, I haven't seen one yet. Can't say if the drone was just off the water, just off the deck when it was intercepted, or potentially it had been. Again, these are maneuverable in flight, so they can change their course, their direction. They're like an airplane, a small airplane. So that's what we're watching this afternoon. Of course, the last 24 hours, very eventful. We had about 35 rockets launched yesterday. Last night, 20 of those targeting Northern Command and Safad. And then in the overnight hours, early morning today, we get word that another targeted assassination from an airstrike taking place. The IDF saying today that they struck and killed another Radwan force leader or some high-ranking member of the Radwan forces inside Hezbollah. That's the third this month that the IDF claims to have killed leadership within Radwan just in April. The month of April right now, we're looking at Hezbollah has announced that 23 Hezbollah men have been killed in this month alone. So a remarkable month of action. Hard to say where this is going. Of course, after 6 months, this is just such a remarkable routine, day in, day out kind of thing that takes place here.
Yes, the situation there continues, and you're keeping close tabs on everything that is happening and not happening on Israel's northern fronts, plural, I should say. Zach Anders, I-24 News correspondent, thank you so very much for this. And you can really see Iranian soil from Israel's northern border, but you can definitely sense it. So let's talk about the Iranian nuclear program. Remember this? Well, It is still on, very much so, weeks rather than months away. This is how far or close Iran is from getting enough enriched uranium to develop a nuclear bomb. That's the fresh assessment of Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. The UN watchdog chief told German media that although uranium enrichment at near weapons grade level is a cause for alarm, one cannot really draw the direct conclusion that Iran now has a nuclear weapon. Well, better be safe than sorry, isn't it? Well, separately or not, Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi is saying an Israeli attack on Iranian territory could radically change dynamics and result in there being nothing left of the Zionist regime. This is what he said in Pakistan today. So
it's terrorist proxies, its drones, its ballistic missiles, its cruise missiles appear, the more likely you're going to see this dangerous rhetoric coming out of the IRGC, coming out of Iranian politicians and even scientists talking about they may reconsider their nuclear doctrine, because what the regime is going to be increasingly going for here, if I had to guess within the next few years, is nuclear blackmail, to dangle the sword of weaponization like a sword of Damocles over Israel, America, the EU, UN, and UK, to say, if you push me, you will be the one who forced me to weaponize. And this is a very dangerous political predicament for all those states vis-a-vis Iran.
Yeah, but this is essentially the game every near nuclear power country is playing, right? The goal is to get nuclear power to increase deterrence, not to for the sake of actually using it, right?
Yeah, but in this sense, they use it by being able to threaten the expansion of it. You know, just about 2 years ago, there was one article. It was not even really covered in the Western press, in the hardline, semi-official Tasnim news agency, that said Iran doesn't have to weaponize all the way because what it has already is the free deterrent dividend of a bomb through such an expansive program with missiles, with drones, with terror.
Dozens, another battlefront, that is, dozens arrested in anti-Israeli demonstrations and those anti-Israeli tents that have spread from Columbia to other universities as officials scramble to defuse an intensifying protest movement. Passover Eve, the NYPD moved in to break an angry rally at NYU, arresting over 130 people there. Earlier in the day, dozens of students arrested at Yale and Columbia, canceled in-person classes until the end of the semester. Campus security and police at Columbia denying entry of a Jewish Israeli assistant professor. Yes, happening now. Similar encampments have sprung up at Berkeley and MIT, other colleges across the country. Well, President Joe Biden weighed in on this dangerous situation. Let's take a listen.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
And this is happening in New York. Protesters chanting their love for Hamas, calling for Hamas to keep firing rockets, kill Israeli soldiers, and burn Tel Aviv, where we're currently at, to burn it to the ground. All right, Neri Zilber, thank you very much for joining us. Now to this 3 survivors of the October 7th massacre, using their music to try and deal with the grief, with the shock over what happened to their communities that day. Uri Shapira and Karmit Molcho are bringing us the story of their band, Burning Time.
Itai, Matar, and Grisha were normal teenagers when they formed a band and dreamed of the first single they would release. On the morning of October 7th, it seemed these dreams were shelved, and with them the routine life that they now miss so much.
I woke up and heard a lot of booms. I thought, okay, this is normal. I went to the safe room and then suddenly my father tells me that there was a terrorist infiltration.
At that time, we didn't know the source of the fire, if it was ours. And then they started saying that the terrorists had entered all of the communities, and it was an unpleasant surprise.
Itai was staying in the safe room in his home in En Absor, Matar was in the bomb shelter in Kibbutz Urim, and Grisha was in a safe space in Moshav Yesha. For hours, they used the phone to keep track of what was going on with their friends.
I have a friend who was between 2 places that were conquered, and the last message I received from her was that she heard gunshots and was afraid. Then they cut the internet and I didn't receive a message from her for 9 hours. She's alive. The community was not occupied, but there were hours of fear.
I have many friends who are dead or kidnapped, people who are close to my family. We moved away. We tried to find peace of mind. But all the time there are messages about abducted, dead, funerals. It's tough.
After a day, they were evacuated under heavy security. Each of them went to a different safe place, Itai to Eilat, Matar to Yakum, and Grisha to Haifa. Out of the harsh reality that befell them, and alongside the anxieties and the difficult stories about their friends who were kidnapped or murdered, they continued to write and play until they managed to meet and record an album. Tomorrow May Be Brighter is one song from the album, a song full of pain about that brutal morning of October 7th, and also full of optimism, a song for us, the adults, who can learn a lot from it.
Tomorrow will be a better day. All of this will be over and we won't have to be in fear that friends will die. Even though I have friends who were murdered and kidnapped, and also all the hostages will return.
Tomorrow may be brighter if all this war was over. Our love will go on free and feel